Thanks. DC?
I definitely agree with Amy. I feel like we also could find places where it's safe to shrink the spacing of our sidewalks to allow for a bike lane onto various areas in the town. That way, we don't have to worry about bikers getting in the way of automobiles or the buses. And I can see that it's been a very high concern from riding the buses because the buses have to slow down and they do not want to hit them and have this whole mess of things. So I feel like it's very important that we find ways to increase that safety and the bike lanes in general.
Thanks. George?
I think the first thing is we need to engage a public education campaign to educate drivers that cyclists actually have a right to be in the road. It's in the driver's handbook, but most of us haven't opened the driver's handbook for a number of years, except when we have to take our test, and usually we look at the signs. But I think that's important. I think we need to work on bicycle lanes where appropriate. Anybody's been on Weaver Dairy Road lately, seen those wonderful bike lanes that are there. And finally, I think we need to educate cyclists to wear their safety equipment. Most people don't realize that a fall at even 10 or 20 miles an hour can be lethal.
Okay, just a quick follow-up, George. What kind of education program are you thinking about putting up signs all along the streets? Because on a regular schedule every year, we get an influx of new people. Every Saturday, every game day, we get an influx of out-of-town people. So are you thinking about signs posted along highways?
I think that's one way, but I think we also need to use our newspapers, our social media.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something that we can't just say, let's do it and have a few things here or there. It needs to be something that's very intensive to get the message out.
Thank you. Sally?
Well, planning for bicycles to be part of our transportation system is very important to our current and future planning. Weaver Dairy Road, as you noticed, is very much changed recently now that all the barrels are down, and it is what we call a complete street. It has bicycle lanes and sidewalks and adequate lanes for cars, and same thing as what's going on with South Columbia Street. That's the kind of streets that we now think about when we plan. We do have a bicycle master plan that Ed can talk more about because he's more involved. That's very exciting. There's what's called a bike corral downtown. This is something that's very much on our minds as we plan for the future.
Thank you. Ed?
Well, I've been interested in this for half a century, since that's how long ago to the day I got my first street bike. And it was immediately important to me as a 13-year-old. And I think what I like the best about what we're doing in Chapel Rock right now is a comprehensive bicycle plan, Bike to the Future. It's unveiled October 24th at the library at 7 p.m. And it's addressing every issue that everyone at this table has brought up, one way or the other. It's one of those cases where you actually are really glad you brought in outside consultants who spent their first 2 days doing nothing but riding around Chapel Hill.
Thank you. Lauren?
I also believe this is a very important issue. I think very briefly, first point is education. We need to work more with DMV about educating drivers, also with the local school system about educating young drivers, and then incorporating the as many bike safety features in terms of our development of new roads and retrofitting old roads, which will help protect the bicyclists and pedestrians.
Thanks. Gary?
I agree with everything that everybody said, but as a Southern Village resident and not too far from 15501, but last month there was a terrible bike accident there. I would encourage more lighting for a lot of these areas, and I hope we can get that done by working somehow with Duke Power to help make it more safe for drivers in the area, for drivers and bicycles in the area.
Thanks. Thanks very much. Last but not least, Maria.
Thank you. I think our big bicycle plan is a great step, and we owe a lot to it. But we all have to work on this. It's not going to be just up to a few advocates. We have to create a culture of biking that includes requiring, for example, new developments to have adequate bicycle parking that is protected so that the tenants can have, just like you provide parking spaces, you provide bicycle safety and storage. And there are lots of ideas, but my time is up.
Thank you. We're going to start with Gary this time. And Gary, we've got some questions here that fall into the realm of business and growth. And we all know UNC as a driving force in our community. It provides us with energy. It provides us with easy access to ideas for businesses, and that businesses will draw on those. We've got two questions that say, do you have a particular idea that you believe would increase the commercial tax base? And what type of development or growth do you foresee for Chapel Hill?
This all goes back to the tax base question. We need to develop more retail, more commercial space for businesses to come in, make it at a reasonable rate, possibly give them some tax benefits for why they want to come and start a business and come to Chapel to start and move from other parts of Durham, like they're in Durham, and we need to offer them some kind of incentive to want to come to Chapel Hill. And also, as a result, with retail and commercial space coming in, it'll reduce the burden on the residents of Chapel Hill because we'll get a benefit from the property tax.
Do you think retail development should be a point of focus?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Lauren?
I attended the Dollar and Cents workshop earlier this fall, and of course there is a good position we made for increasing commercial development. So the short answer is yes. I mean, I think areas where it can be is, for example, the form-based code, which we've talked about in other forums, is a potential area of increasing that development out on Fordham and Ephesus Church. The other issue, of course, there's been talk about higher density, which I support, and that's red card.
Okay. Ed?
I support development that gets us more sales tax. Sales tax is a relatively easy tax to pay. That generally means retail. It's appropriately scaled retail, and that scale can vary depending where you are in town. I think on Fordham Boulevard you have an entirely different picture than immediately next to a neighborhood. And in terms of the overall type of development, the word we have used for a long time, sustainable, we need to get better at defining that in terms of its impact on people who live here and the environment around us.
Okay, Sally?
Well, the use of form-based code in Ephesus Fordham would allow the community to have a discussion about what form the development took. And once we got that established, then I believe what our economic development officer is telling us, which is that would make it easier to attract the kind of retail business that we want to help beef up our tax base. So I think that strategy has some potential in that area. There's the Eubanks Road area, which is, as far as I can tell, the only area really left in town that could possibly support a light industry. I think maybe some kind of sustainable light industry there would be helpful.
Thanks. George?
In terms of a particular idea that I think could support development here, the Triangle area is really the world's probably center for clinical research organizations that support clinical trials. And UNC actually has a program to train clinical research associates. So I think something like that in Chapel Hill, where you have a building that could provide a significant amount of tax revenue while at the same time providing jobs, would be the ideal situation, and would have ties to UNC as well. So just as an example, well, my time's up, so I'll tell that.
Okay, we'll come back. DC?
I'm going to tag on to what George said there. Since we do live in the Research Triangle, I think that looking at green technology businesses around the country and finding out if they want to relocate or expand to the Chapel Hill area would be exceptional. I believe in retail growth as well, but to make sure that it's not any big box store per se. And I also want to make sure, though, that when we do get these industries in, whether they are in the green technology field or otherwise, that they either A, provide plenty of jobs to Chapel Hill residents, B, provide a living wage to Chapel Hill residents, or C, all of the above. I think that's a way that we definitely need to look at future growth of our commercial tax base.
Thanks. Amy?
I think that we can see some good retail growth, especially in areas like Ephesus Fordham, which is really ripe for redevelopment. But more than that, I'd really like to see our focus on commercial growth be in office. Right now, our biggest private employer is Southern Season in town. And I would like us to try to get more companies in that were bigger companies that offered the better wage jobs, not just the retail jobs that would help pay our citizens better.
Thanks very much, Maria.
And I think we need more destination stores like Southern Seasons that attract people from a long ways, and I think we can learn something from Asheville. I encourage all of you to go to the meetings of Rosemary Imagine. That was very exciting. I proposed what's known as a third place, not home, not work, the destination for downtown, a climbing wall club situation. Again, learned from my experience in Asheville, and I think we need more retail. I would love to be able to buy my daughter's soccer balls here in town.
Thanks very much. This time we're going to start, that's everybody, right? Yes, it is. We're going to start with Sally. You get your turn to go first, too. A member of the audience asks, what do you think about opening big stores like Walmart off 15501 near Southern Village in Chapel Hill? And because that is so close, this is a good time to ask us to give us your opinion on development in the Obie Creek.
The jury for me is still out on Obie Creek. I live in the same neighborhood Lauren does, which is down in that part of town, and the traffic concerns on 15501 are immense, so I'm going to be watching for traffic concerns, for traffic solutions there. But more importantly, we have a process that's started where the pre-development agreement process is going on. I respect that process. I want to see what comes out of it. We've got great people on that committee. And this is a question that I don't support a Walmart there because there's already a Walmart right on the other side of the line. We're kind of surrounded by Walmarts. I think we need I think a lot of questions remain unanswered before we talk about where and when we need a big box store.
All righty. George?
Well, I'm uncommitted yet as to the big box store at Obie Creek, but what I will say is if you're going to do mixed-use development, you have to do it right. We have 3 mixed-use developments in Chapel Hill, Meadowmont, East 54, and Southern Village. And the retail stores in all of those are not succeeding right now because they don't have enough density to supply them during the day. So if we make a decision to have mixed use at Obie Creek, then we need to go all in and make sure they have the sufficient size to survive.
Okay. DC, you're next. Juggle the microphone.
I am not a fan of the big box stores for numerous reasons, but we don't have time for that. I would say that we do need to look into retail in general, but definitely different types, like destination stores, as Maria commented. In terms of Obie Creek, I feel like if we are doing mixed use development, we also need to have mixed income neighborhoods and or housing in that Obie Creek plan as well.
Thanks. Amy?
I second Sally's concerns about traffic. I live down in Southbridge, which is right near where the Obie Creek development is coming in. That has the potential to bring a lot of new traffic. We already have a choke point at the James Taylor Bridge, and then up 15501 towards Sally's neighborhood can really be a nightmare sometimes. Chatham County is developing rapidly. I don't know if you're familiar with the Chatham Park development, but they're expecting 60,000 new residents east of Pittsburgh in the next, I don't know, it's like a 20-year project. And many of those people in Chatham County now, they get up to I-40, up through 15501 and up where we are. So there's a lot of pressure on traffic in that area. The other thing I hope that we do as that area develops is that we don't look at it in isolation, that we make sure that we consider that development in the context of the area, its effect on Southern Village, its effect on the adjacent neighborhoods, and its effect on the environment in the area.
Thanks. Maria?
I agree with George that we have to develop, if we are going to have retail, we have to have density to support it. We need to develop the area in a way that transit serves both the people who work there and the people who live there. And I think I'm not afraid of 3 times University Mall. If you put 2 stories above University Mall and put residential and office space above it, it would serve us well. So I don't think that is a major problem. It's what we put in there and how we serve it.